Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning, who is really in the wrong? Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from Environmental Dog 79. AITA for ghosting my dad because he didn't throw a sweet 16 party for me? I, 16F, haven't really had a close relationship with my dad. We don't live together, and I visit him 1 to 2 times a year during school holidays. He sends money every month for child support, and texts me occasionally. Our relationship has been fine until these past 2 years, but I'll get into that a little later. So, around June, schools were closing, and I was ready to go for holidays to celebrate my birthday, which was on the 27th. Months prior, my stepmom, who's my dad's wife, had promised her, and my dad would throw me a sweet 16 party. She even said I could invite my friends. Mind you, my dad was in the room, so I assumed he was also going along with it. So, when I texted my dad about when he'll fetch me and the plans for the party, he disappointed me when he said, "Sorry, sweetie, I don't have money right now. Maybe I'll get you a cake? Or something else." I was pissed. In my head, I assumed he was going to, save some money for the party. That would be the obvious thing to do. But apparently, he didn't. And he always had a habit of doing this. Whenever I ask him for stuff, like I text him, "Hi, I need money for some few necessities," he'd always go, "Sorry, I don't have any money right now, blah, blah, blah." But whenever I actually visit him, he'll yap his ass off and go, "I'm your father, you can tell me what you need." But when I do, he complains about it. This time wasn't any different. And sure, you might think, well, why would you expect more if he barely does the minimum? But here where it's different, all the times I asked him for stuff and bailed on me, my mom was there. She was the one that filled the gaps I needed for support. Unlike my dad, I lived with my mom. She didn't earn much from her job, but she managed to get me most of the stuff that I needed. But of course, she was a single parent, and she still had to take care of my other 2 siblings, half-siblings. So she kept asking Dad to increase the money he sent every month. Mind you, he's been sending me the same amount since I was a baby. And you'd think growing up and hitting puberty would mean needing more things, which meant sending more money. But he always went, "What about she just lives with me?" I did not want to live with him. But the money I send is enough. It wasn't. He just deflected it, and Mother eventually decided to give up on his ass and deal with the issues on her own, like she always did. But now I don't have her anymore. That's the difference. My mum passed away 2 years ago, 2022. And since then, I've been struggling without her help. You would think my dad would be like, "Oh, her mother died. Not only does she need emotional support, but she needs me to fill in the role for both parents now." But nope, out the window, just a simple party for my sweet 16. Nothing. He didn't think ahead. He didn't even try to seem like he cared. And mind you, he barely checked on me either. Earlier this year, he had the audacity to go, "Why don't you text me? I'm your dad. You should check on me. I should check up on you." Me? He is the parent, and I'm the child in this relationship. He should constantly check up on me, visit me, make sure I'm okay after losing my mother. But no. None of that. Only thing he did was attend my mom's funeral. And that was it. Now I have to rely on him more, and it's not fair because he still continues the same habits, the constant complaints about not having money, the refusal to increasing child support, and just downright childish behavior. So, when he said he couldn't throw the party, I simply texted him that I wasn't coming to visit him anymore. He seemed a bit surprised based on his texts, but I didn't care. I was sick of his half-assed efforts of being a parent. A week later, my stepmom called me, to my surprise, but I answered the call. She explained to me she didn't want me to feel left out, just because my half-sister lived with him, and I didn't. She continued on to say, she feels as though I'm not getting the same attention and support like my sister because of the distance I am from him, even though that's not the case, but I digress. She asked me what I wanted for my birthday. So, in my mind, I was like, oh, my dad has the money? So, why lie? Either way, I was happy I could get something out of my birthday, so I asked if she could ask my dad to send money so I could go to an amusement park with my friends. I decided to not go for the birthday party, and just wanted to avoid my dad as much as possible, so she agreed and said she'll tell him. I waited for about 2 days and decided to call him. No answer. Okay, fine. The next day, no answer. Then I decided to reach out to my stepmom again. No answer. Then my sister, no freaking answer. It felt like they were all avoiding me or something, but I decided to brush it off and wait, until my stepmom texted me and said, I told your dad, but he just looked at me with a sad expression. She then went, I think you hurt his feelings since you're not coming. What? I was flabbergasted. First of all, that doesn't make any sense because why would he now feel sad if I'm not coming? I barely come anyway, so why is he disappointed now? Out of all the times I didn't come? Second, why the is he sad? Why would he be sad while he barely even does the bare minimum for me, let alone supporting me? It baffled me, and I was in fact not going to apologize for hurting him. The following day he called me, and what he said made me know he was lying and incompetent to even do anything. He said, I'm sending you this amount of money. It was half the amount of what I asked for, and it wouldn't cover all the costs for my birthday, so I went. But that's not what I asked for. I told my stepmom to tell you the amount. He went, she never told me anything. Liar. How would he know to send money if my stepmom didn't tell him? Why would he lie about her not telling him? I just know he was trying to get out of the situation. I was so done with his behavior, I spent my sweet 16 in bed, crying. I decided to ghost him for all those months. He tried texting me, but I didn't answer. And now I just know he'll complain about ignoring his texts. And I'm pretty sure my dad's side of the family will try to side with him. Edo feels a bit guilty though, and I just want to know if ghosting him was the best thing to do. And if not, what should I do? So, am I the OP is not an AH for ghosting her father for months. Her father is an AH for not fulfilling his parental responsibilities. OP's reaction is 100% justified. Her decision to keep her distance from her father after his behavior is understandable. So, I would rate OP's father 2.5 on the AH scale and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Cindy Sweetheart. AITA for taking my young children on a family vacation to Japan without my husband? A few days ago, my 35F mother sent a mass text to my adult siblings and I that she found an amazing deal on airfare from Los Angeles to Tokyo, $450 USD RT, to travel in mid-January. My parents offered to cover the cost of the airfare and hotel for all of us, so that the entire family could take a trip there and visit the Disney parks. Similarly, my parents paid for our airfare, hotel, park tickets last year, around this time, for us to all go to Disney World in Florida. The whole family also currently has annual passes to Disneyland in California, and we visit the parks 1-2 times a month. Our children are 6 and 4 years old. Our 6-year-old son has autism, high functioning, low support, level 1, but for the most part, he has traveled by plane to various places without much issue. However, like all children, it doesn't mean that we are able to go on vacation without some challenges due to the change in routine, time changes, etc. On even run-of-the-mill excursions to activities close to home, my husband, 35M, has very little patience for our son's challenges due to his autism. Our son has gotten much better at being flexible when things go awry, and his meltdowns are much more manageable by talking him through it. However, my husband cannot handle any type of disruption in public. He will literally walk away and leave me alone with the kids to fend for myself if our son begins to cry or get upset. Because of this attitude, my husband constantly says no to going places with our kids because it's a hassle and not enjoyable if our son is with us. I am not okay with this. It is not our son's fault that his autism makes some situations a little more challenging, and it's up to us to make modifications or plan ahead as best as possible to accommodate him. I don't feel we should withhold him from things that he wants to participate in because of his disability or because it's inconvenient. When I brought up the trip to my husband, he laughed in my face and said, "Absolutely not," without discussing it. After I pushed on it, he claimed it was because he wouldn't be able to get a week off work. He's a cop. Which I know is not true, because he was able to swing over a week off to visit his family out of state in November, with only 3 weeks' notice. I suggested that the children and I go without him then. We would be traveling with my parents, 4 sisters, 2 brother-in-laws, 2 uncles and 4 nieces, nephews, all same age or younger than our children. We would be the only members of my immediate family not attending this family vacation. He said no. When I asked what the reason was, he replied, "I don't have to give you a reason why I said no." Basically, he doesn't want to go, but he also just doesn't want us to travel without him. My husband is a big football fan and frequently travels with his buddies to various states to watch his team play, and spends the weekend without me or the kids. He's also gone to Vegas with work friends on more than one occasion. I have never traveled anywhere without him for the entirety of our relationship, 10 plus years. Hell, since we had kids, I've only gone to lunch with friends alone, maybe 2 to 3 times in the past 6 years. I am a Satyam, so I am always with my children and nowhere else. I don't think it's fair that I have to continually miss experiences, some once in a lifetime, just because it's not something he wants to do. This is not the first time I would be the only family member not participating in a large planned event because my husband said no. Legally, I could take them without his written consent, and my parents are paying for everything, so I wouldn't need him to pay for anything either. Since he frequently uses the fact that he is the only one providing an income to prevent me from doing things, I would be traveling with my whole family, so we would be safe, and I would have help with the kids. Would I be the asshole if I went to Japan with the kids for 1 week with my family without his consent? OP is not an AH in her demand from her husband. OP's husband is an AH for neglecting her wife and children. He should show some accountability. Being a stay-at-home woman, OP has a right to make a demand from her husband. So I would rate OP's husband 2.5 on the AH scale and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story. From January_Energy, AITA for not befriending my relative's affair partner at Christmas. The players: me, my mom, Emma, 38F, my cousin, her mom, Tammy, my mom's sister, and my aunt, Sam, 40M. My cousin Emma brought a significant other, Sam, to Christmas last year. That significant other was a married guy with kids. They had had an affair, and he was then separated and attempting to leave his wife for Emma. Some of us knew he was married and some had no idea. I have a lot of traumas related to cheating. Specifically, my dad cheated on my mom over a span of a 40-year marriage. It was devastating and super f***ed up. More upsetting than the cheating was all of the lies and deception surrounding it, all in the name of protecting my mom. They've been in therapy, but it was rough for a while. Emma and Tammy know this. We're all very close. When my mom found out about the cheating, she moved to Charleston where she grew up, which is also where we have Christmas. Most of the family lives there, and the house she lives in that the family owns has always been a special gathering place. A few months before Christmas, Emma asked my mom if she could stay at the house for a couple days when my mom was out of the house for travel and bring a significant other to show him around, Sam. Excited about the relationship, Mom brought it up to Tammy, trying to get info about this mystery guy. She jokingly asked if he was married, and Tammy said yes, but he's working on separating. Obviously, Emma did not include that information and would later claim that it was to protect my mom because of her trauma. But of course, the lie by omission was extremely triggering to my mom. One of the more significant affairs my dad had was a workplace affair. Emma and Sam's affair was also a workplace affair, one that made them lose their jobs. My mom was hesitant to say yes, eventually did, but was yelled at, essentially bullied, and made to feel like for having any kind of emotional response to the situation that hit close to home and not being excited about it. Emma wanted his marital status to be private and has said she found it irrelevant. My mum was told to keep all of this information from me. BTW, we are extremely close. Fast forward to Christmas. I was feeling weird about the whole situation which I'd just been clued into the month before, and I was honestly angry at Emma for hurting my mom. While I want a good relationship for her, it doesn't matter to me what she does as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, but this did. To me, her request and response was inconsiderate of my mom's decades-long trauma. Knowing I'd been left out of the conversation from the beginning, and feeling weird because of my own relationship to it all, I decided to keep my distance more than usual and not stir the pot. It felt like engaging in our usual holiday-friendly camaraderie directly with her, and him was almost disrespectful to my mom, who was having horrible anxiety. Well, this apparently was the wrong move. Emma broke down and essentially claimed we didn't love her, and shamed her, and were cruel to her for being distant. She had been shamed at work and lost her apartment after losing her job, and was seeking comfort and support for the relationship from us at Christmas, which I obviously understand as an isolated desire. My brother chose to hang out with her and Sam like nothing had happened. He had also known about everything earlier than anyone. He didn't care about Sam at all, and had comforted Mom previously, saying that Emma crossed a line by lying, but he said I was wrong for behaving differently than I usually would toward her. We generally are pretty close for cousins, but not as close as I thought, or I wouldn't have been excluded from all info. I still to this day never got any direct info from Emma about anything, besides they fell in love at work and she wanted support after getting shamed at work. The info I got about this was conflicting. Quitting versus being fired, etc. They're no longer together, he couldn't go through with the divorce, but this has completely altered our family's relationship, and they refuse to understand my mom's perspective, and thus my behavior. I feel like we're on two different planets, can't even talk about it, so maybe I'm completely delusional or something, if it's no better after a year. AITA? OP is not an AH for keeping distance from her toxic cousin. OP's cousin Emma is an AH for prioritizing others over family. She did not care for OP's mother's feelings. OP's anger is 100% justified, so I would rate OP's cousin 2.5 on the AH scale and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Claymore_fan, AITA for not attending my father's birthday celebration and instead going to meet up with my BF's family. I, 18F, have been in a relationship with this wonderful piece of man, my boyfriend, 18M. We are high school sweethearts, and I know many would say that I'm being way too impulsive, but this guy has been actually a great partner. I have several things I have to work on but haven't since I haven't gone to a psychologist. For a little retrospective, when I was younger, I was bullied by family in my school, and even in the activities I did after school. The family stuff was more like those comments your family does about your body and appearance thing, and so I developed pretty low self-esteem. I am not even exaggerating when I say my BF has helped me a lot through all my insecurities. Now I met my boyfriend in the second period of high school. He was this nerdy, geeky introvert guy, and long story short, we talked, I confessed, he confessed couple. By that time, I used to live with my father. My parents have been divorced since I was 5 years old, never an issue. But when we were about to enter high school, my mom told us that in order for us both, my brother and I, to start growing up in a different environment, our whole life we used to be in private colleges, that we would have to enter a public high school. By that time, I suffered severe anxiety. There were times in which I would totally block myself in the middle of an exam. My father told us he could pay for college, but we would have to live with him. I saw this as an opportunity since I didn't have many friends back in school, so I moved in with my father. Bad idea. For 3 years, I was more of a maid, doing dishes, house cleaning, clothes cleaning. I wasn't even able to go out without leaving the house spotless and blindly obeying my father. He did slap me on the face once, and another time I remember he tried to drag me out of the house because we had a little discussion about me wanting to dye my hair and telling him, "I don't need your permission to do things to myself," which obviously sounds exactly like, "I don't need you." So he proceeded to grab my arm and try to drag me out of his house, shouting at me. I was so scared, I hid under a table, crying, begging for forgiveness. 3 years passed, and I moved back in with my mom. Obviously, I told my dad, via text, I don't have the strength to do that face-to-face, that all those years, I felt as if I was never enough. I ended up with a total high school score of 9.1, which I think is like an A or A+. Even though I worked hard on my grades, if I had an 8-something, my dad would always scold me and punish me with no electronics. But since my brother was in a public school, it didn't matter if he failed classes because my father was always proud of him. There was this one moment in which my brother told my dad he felt sad and wasn't able to concentrate in school. The moment my dad heard that, he sent him to do some tests, and he is now diagnosed with ADHD. So, stupidly, once I told my dad with tears in my eyes how I felt about my low self-esteem and other stuff, he told me he would also get me tested and send me to therapy. He never sent me, and when I asked him about it, he just told me, "You don't need it." Moving forward from the trauma, nowadays the relationship with my father is complicated. Since I told him how I felt, how I never felt that I could get to his expectations, etc., he has been trying to reconnect by inviting me and my brother to visit him. I've previously used the excuse that since I have a dog who is 100% mine, I have to deal with the responsibility of taking care of it because my father didn't want to bring it with us. My father's birthday was yesterday, and I congratulated him, telling him things like, "I know we haven't had the best relationship, but I admire you for your ability to always improve. I will always be here to listen to you. Love you. He invited me and my brother to go see him at his house. I used my dog excuse and everything was working fine. But today, my BF told me since he has already finished his first semester at his university, he wanted to see me this weekend. This guy asked his mother for permission, and his mother invited me to a family dinner they'll have this Saturday, in which most of the most important family members for my BF will be. I know he has been trying to present me to his whole family in a much more formal way, so I asked my mom, and she gave me permission about 2 hours ago. My dad texted me that he can come for us and my dog in order for us to visit him, which took me guts, but I politely told him that a few hours ago I made very important plans and that I was sorry for that, but that I would love to celebrate him on another day. He just wrote me, "Never mind, forget it," and I feel guilty for that. Am I the OP is not an AH for attending her boyfriend's family gathering instead of her father's birthday. OP has a very strained relationship with her father, and she is the victim of physical and emotional abuse from him. She did nothing wrong by not going to her abusive father's birthday. OP's father is an AH for being so cruel to her for so long. So, I would rate OP's father 3.5 on the AH scale and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story. Brasuksu 743 AITA for overstepping my boundaries as a grandparent. My wife, 58F, and I, 58M, have 3 kids, 30F, 27M, and 25M. Our oldest has 2 sons, 13M and 3M, with her husband, 30M. Our oldest is currently on vacation with her husband. My wife and I agreed to take them in for the week, as they haven't had vacation without the kids for over a year. Liam is our 13-year-old grandson. I got a phone call from the office saying Liam needed to be picked up after he got suspended for 2 days. Liam's teacher called me after telling me about an altercation he had between another student, Riker, 13M. My daughter and Liam have talked about Riker before. They always portrayed it as Liam and Riker being 2 boys who just hated each other. Liam is active in the school community. He's president of the anime club, vice president of the Model UN, and does debate. He has friends, and I've met the boys he's friends with. They've told me that Riker is just popular with the jock boys. He plays baseball, and according to my daughter and Liam, bullies Liam in gym class. I always thought it was just 2 cliques of kids who didn't like each other for petty middle school drama. I asked the teacher what the boy did, and she said nothing, and told me that Liam consistently bullies this boy and his friends. I asked who it was, and she told me she couldn't say. I asked about Riker, and she said she couldn't say. But she said that the boy he got into an altercation with was a sweet boy, and she was said to see how Liam always argued with him. I asked Liam who it was when I picked him up from school, and he said it was Riker. This got me wondering if everything I was told by Liam and his mom was true. I asked a friend who also has a grandkid in the school if his granddaughter, 13F, knew anything. He got her on FaceTime, and I asked what she knew about Liam and Riker. She said that the Riker kid was friendly to her. She also said Riker has a lot of strong beliefs, and when I asked her about it, she said he was very woken. I asked what that meant, and she said he has a friend who identifies as a transgender boy, and how Riker got into a fight once about Liam regarding this friend. She said she didn't always agree with Riker's views, but he was nice and smart kid. He just doesn't really care about the academic stuff like Liam does. And that bothers Liam. Liam calls him dumb, but she said Riker was on the honor roll. I then asked about Liam, and she said that Liam and the group of boys he's friends with give girls the creeps. She mentioned incidents where Liam and his friends would make inappropriate misogynistic comments about girls' bodies, called the names like sluts, and mentioned how they watch sexist content creators. I was very angry when I heard about this. I know kids are not perfect, but I did not raise my daughter to be okay with none. I asked Liam about this, and he admitted to making those comments, saying he did nothing wrong and how he just speaks his mind. I asked my friend if he could ask his granddaughter for Riker's full name. I don't use Instagram much, but downloaded it to see my kids' posts. I found Riker's account and saw his mom was on there too. I messaged his mom and explained who I was and wanted to have Liam apologize to Riker if he was willing to accept an apology, and that I apologize for anything he's said. She said her son told her that he would message me. He sent a message saying that his parents don't understand his transgender friend and didn't see why he stuck up for him. but he told me he was thankful I was involved. He also told me about some other incidents of Liam saying racist and vile stuff. He told me that Liam should apologize to them. He said he can't forgive Liam, only they can. He also said that what happens in gym class is that he will tell the teacher when Liam refuses to participate, and Liam considers that bullying because he will get a detention for that. Riker said that he has prayed that Liam would stop being such a bigot. After all of this, I talked to Liam again, and he says I need to mind my own business. I called my daughter later on and asked if she knew about all of this, and why she never told me why Liam got in trouble for bigotry. She said that what happens between Liam and Riker and how she parents their dislike of each other is none of my business. She said Liam told them how I intervened and how I overstepped boundaries. I told her that I was just trying to make sure my grandson is a good person, and she got mad and hung up on me. AITA? OP is not an AH for asking his grandson to make excuses with his classmate, whom he passes negative comments on. OP's daughter is an AH for not taking accountability for her grandson's actions. OP is concerned about the upbringing of his grandson. His reaction is completely justified. So I would rate OP's daughter 2.5 on the AH scale and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.